Hey metalheads, welcome back to the channel. What's our battle this week?
The battle is about technology, space, and metal. That give you any clues?
Yeah, I'm thinking there's... it's a genre within the genre, right?
Yeah, I think there's so many.
I think Chaldean was one we had on the channel. Studio project with a lot of space themes. But what do you got in mind?
I have in mind two bands, one of whom we've discussed at length, Orden Ogan, the one that's hardest to pronounce, and someone or a band that's new to the channel called Seven Kingdoms from the land of the free, the United States. More specifically, Florida, which we may discuss.
Florida, man, crazy.
Many bands.
Yeah, we've been talking a little bit on the channel about like American metal bands, where are they at, and yeah,
we have two poles: the south, southeast, and middle west.
Yeah, I think one of the conclusions is that they're stuck in the 80s, and that's cool. But like, I was just listening to one of my favorite radio programs, Classic Love Line, for anyone who used to listen to that back in the day. And just recently, I was listening to Andrew WK, who I think was like I don't know if he's metal, but he was more rock. But that dude was out of Florida.
Yeah.
Party hard from like, I don't know, like late 90s or something. But
Ice Turf is from Florida.
And Death.
Death is also from Florida.
Death, yeah, they were from Florida.
Chuck.
Yeah, that guy.
Wow.
I think actually that might be where it is. In the 80s and stuck in Florida. You don't think of it as a metal city.
Exactly.
Or metal state.
You stole my thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, I did not see that coming. But this band has been around since 2007, so it's not a recent appearance. And they're based or they started at least in Florida. Not so well known as per typical power metal, progressive metal bands from the US. They don't get such a huge audience in their country.
Classic.
However, I think they're really cool. There's quite interesting production they've had. Their name, Seven Kingdoms, connects them to the TV series Game of Thrones, with which I'm not very familiar with, but they have an entire story about that.
Like Bloodbound.
I think really the cultural impact of that TV series cannot be underestimated, judging by only this production. But they've moved away from that dragon-themed content, Seven Kingdoms that is, and in 2017 they produced music on some more tech and space travel related items or subjects. And one of the songs that we're going to listen to comes from that album. The song is called Stargazer. The album is called Decennium, because they've been around for 10 years. So, and I think we will begin by listening to them, to Stargazer. And then on the other side of the coin, we have Orden Ogan, as I already mentioned, and a song that we have already featured in a band review, which is In the Dawn of the AI.
Yeah, I like that song.
I like that song too. So let's see how Stargazer, which is the one that we'll play first, will fit into that thing. And this is going to be a lyrics video. mentioned before, but obviously there's a female vocalist. In case in case anybody missed that, her name is Sabrina Valentine. And her voice is very special. So you could easily identify the band just by hearing the voice.
A lot of thoughts. A lot of thoughts. Where do I begin? I'm really trying to process because I like it. I like it a lot. I think I really liked the guitar work and the support, you could say, for the voice.
Yes.
Voice obviously very good, but I think pumped up too much in the song.
Meaning
in the
taking
sense
too
that
much.
I really liked, and I had to
like the
No, it's not me. But I had to jack up the volume on my headphones to get more of the background. So I feel like the production highlights the voice, trying to make more of an kind of
I see your point.
pump the lead singer up. But I was trying to put my finger on during the song. What does the kind of like, the riffs and the melodies, it's like great power metal. But then you have the voice that you clearly is seems like in the production is being pumped up, whereas I was really drawn to the more of the instrumentals. But I liked it. It's like, for me, it's a good solid power metal sound, and the voice is great, but I felt like they were giving it too much space, or I wanted to get more of the background.
I'm very glad you like the guitars, because the guitars and the specific riffs that I hope are still in our memory after listening to this are the connection with the next composition, with Orden Ogan's song. Also, the type of composition, the way they open up and the way they integrate the music.
You're putting too much pressure on me.
No.
I was just thinking there's something in that song is it sounds like other classic power metal bands that I like, but I couldn't pick them out because I was...
Pay attention just to the guitar in both. I mean, obviously they're excellent in my opinion in the Seven Kingdoms. Pay attention, even though of course there's a lot of different layers, but pay attention to the sound of the guitars in Orden Ogan, which we'll hear right now. In the Dawn of the AI,
A challenge has been issued. Pay attention to guitars. What are we listening for?
We're listening to the opening riff and the ending riffs, but not so much the voice. So again, try to, in our minds, if we can, downplay both voices, both Sabrina's and Seb's voice, respectively. And tell me if you don't think they're very similar. And of course, the theme is kind of the same. It's about technology and so on. Of course, they are Germans, these guys, so they are a little bit more tech critical, rather than gazing into the stars, or they gaze into the stars and they look away in disgust.
You guys have the luxury of going back and listening.
Yeah, exactly. Pay attention to the guitar. Anyway, let's hit it.
did notice the first time I watched it, they have like code running in the
Yeah.
background. Like, oh shit.
Application will be terminated. Yeah,
I have a lot of thoughts. I have so many thoughts.
This is, again, I understand that it's difficult because there's much more voice in Orden Ogan. That's obvious to anyone. So there's not like this classic composition, guitar, voice, you know, like more the Seven Kingdoms. But yeah, shoot.
I don't even know where to start. I have a lot. I think maybe three parallel lines. One is I don't know. I get the sense that Orden Ogan is for me. It's almost like a maturation, a mature version of like 90s grunge. It's smooth. Okay.
Yeah.
What I like about Seven Kingdoms is something I've been thinking about a lot doing this channel and think about like, what is it? Because there's clearly some connection between like, for example, people who like Nightwish metal versus more like a more
Manowar metal.
More Manowar metal, let's put it that way. But maybe it's not even that, but there's something there, right? And I think that this song exemplifies more in the Nightwish direction and that it's smooth, it's polished, it flows. And for me, kind of smooths out some of the what I grew up with, which was like this 90s Americans grunge, which I hate. And this is a better version of that, obviously. It's definitely an improvement. And I'm not necessarily drawing connection, but what I've been thinking about, and the reason I bring this up, is that for me, what I liked about power metal is it was very stepwise. And what I mean by that is it was like, and I don't know, there's musicians out there will know a lot better than me, it's more of like a like there's this stepwise, and for me, Steel Attack does that the best. This Swedish band, one of the first band I featured on the channel. And I think Seven Kingdoms has that, it's like a break. It's like the riffs are kind of like...
The composition is more separated.
And I would say stepwise. I don't know if that's a key change or what exactly that is in musicians' terms, but it kind of it goes and that's how the melodies are built. Whereas I feel like Orden Ogan is much more rounded. It doesn't have these rough edges on the steps. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
I could also be just talking out of my ass, but I think that's one thing that like...
The composition and the way that it flows.
There's a smoothness, and I identify that smoothness with 90s grunge as well, like Nirvana. Not some of the more punk bands, but
I'm so terrible with grunge. I never listen to it.
But it has this.
I listened to one song from Nirvana.
I would say again, I'm not a musician, so you guys butcher me or back me up. Is that there's a rounded sound to it. And I think
it has to do with the distortion they apply to the guitars and the fact that they have a massive keys.
And that's what I really liked about this. Oh, my vote goes to Seven Kingdoms, by the way.
Was there any doubt among any of you?
Is that it has the guitars are moving in that like the notes are separated and kind of going up and down and creating some kind of distance, whereas there's a
no wall of sound.
Smoothness.
This is actually very interesting that you emphasize this aspect because, of course, in the Orden Ogan song, in this song, and not in every other song, but in this one in particular, there is a wall of sound type of thing. Like all instruments come at you immediately.
Exactly.
All the time. There's a voice, there's a keys, there's guitar, bass, and fantastic, in my opinion, drums. Anyway, so they're all playing. They don't take turns. They all play. Always. I mean, again, with some breaks, but most of the time they're always on, and some are more foregrounded and some are less foregrounded, but they're always on. Whereas in this more classical composition, you have people taking turns. Like
it's
here's the guitar.
Somehow.
Yeah, exactly. There's the guitar, and then the guitar solo has been. I think mostly what I interpret you saying is like the sequencing of instruments taking the foreground place.
Yes,
and how like the guitar versus the voice, basically playing it out against each other, which is the classical metal composition. Whereas in this particular version, Orden Ogan lays it all out. All the sound is like taking you over.
Yeah, and that's something that you can kind of generally associate with singles, maybe. You know,
yeah, this was definitely
it's more mainstream, quote unquote.
Yes, I think the entire album, which I still don't remember, Final Days, I think it's called actually, Final Days. is it 2021 even? Now I'm second guessing myself. I'll put the correct info in the show notes and in the comment below. But I think that you don't necessarily generalize, but for like not all Orden Ogan songs are the same, which is why I like the band. But in this song, yes, I give you right this wall of sound impression where everything is at the same time and amplified, and a lot of keys which Seven Kingdoms don't have, if I recollect.
Yeah, and
so my vote is actually, this is a true case when I'm going to say this is a very difficult case because it's me who proposed this battle, right? And I really like both songs, really quite a lot. I don't know much about Seven Kingdoms except this album that I really enjoyed, this 10-year anniversary decennium. So I cannot comment in general, but I really like this album and this song in particular. And of course, since we already had a band review about Orden Ogan, you know that I really like them as well.
So who's the vote?
So the vote is actually going to go also for Stargazer.
Wow.
Oh, primarily because of the guitars. Primarily because I really enjoyed the guitar solo, and I mean the composition around the guitars, and I liked actually the fact, maybe I read it in a different way compared to you, the fact that the voice was a little bit lower, like the key in which she sings is she's not a very high pitched voice, right? She's more smoother, a lower key singer, and I think that leaves a lot of room for the guitar to be that high pitch, energy driven moment in the song. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm going with Stargazer also because I've been listening quite a lot to this song. I have it on repeat on my playlist, and I can only comment something that is not song related but band related. I've read on Reddit, I think, that Seven Kingdoms is out on tour. So if you're listening to us from the United States, check it out. You might be in the vicinity of a Seven Kingdom concert, and they are touring together with Unleash the Archers. Mm-hmm. Which is an interesting combination. So again, lucky you guys if you're there and can attend the concert for one, and two, can attend concerts with these bands, which are pretty awesome.
I'm going to just bring this up again because I had something to say that I forgot, which is, think about it. Think about like 90s, 2000s American metal, Metallica. Right, we just did this Through the Never video, right? It's like the guitars are very do, and then the vocals come in, but it's not all blended.
Yeah,
and I think
it's an arrangement question.
Yeah, there's something there.
However, I think we have some examples, and we will have some examples as well about Sabaton.
Yes.
So keep this idea about the arrangement and how different instruments come in and out when we will listen to Sabaton, when you will listen to Sabaton, because there's a discussion that needs to be continued.
Okay, but I must add one more thing.
Go ahead.
Which is, I started this talking about classic love line, and I know that most of you probably never heard of the show, but if there's anyone out there who has, they had a game where they would read a bizarre media story, and the game was to guess, did it come from Germany or Florida? So these are these are apparently two places that are linked in another cosmic universe, and I think it's not random that these bands, but also
many others,
a lot of American metal bands, but also a lot of European metal bands come from Germany and Florida. There's something there in the cosmos.
Cosmic, exactly.
I think so.
That's the only explanation. It's somewhere in the planetary spheres. Yeah, I cannot think of many more examples except for the ones we mentioned recently. But if you know any other cool Florida-based or Florida-started metal bands worth listening to.
Florida's a weird place, man. I gotta say.
How can they make metal there? This is the dilemma. But
Germany too, by the way. But in the meantime,
may your sword stay sharp
and your quest end in glory.